All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Adam White, and it is time for the August 2023 Government Affairs Update. As you can tell from the scenery back here behind me, I am not in the Nana in the hangar. I'm actually not even in Alaska right now. I'll let you guess where I am. Put your comments below where you think I might be, giving you this quick update tonight. I will tell you that you can tell that the sun is shining and it's setting a little bit. And so it should actually be set here in about 17 minutes, I think, is when we checked when sunset was. So that may give you a little bit of a clue about where I am. So I don't want to take too much of your time. It's August and we're all busy doing all kinds of stuff. Obviously, I am busy doing things other than my normal routine there in the Nana. So several things I'd like to talk to you about, and checking my list over here. FA reauthorization bill. It has gone through the House. It is kind of stalled out in the Senate right now. We're watching that pretty close, commenting on a lot of those bills, the parts of the bills that affect Alaska for sure. And there's a chance that it may have to be extended past the deadline to be able to get that to go through by the end of the month. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So Alaska Aviation Advisory Board, the Governor's Aviation Advisory Board, is going to meet at the end of this month. You may know that I sit in a seat on that board representing the membership-based general aviation associations throughout Alaska. And we are preparing the budget, or not budget, I'm sorry. We are preparing the agenda for that meeting. And so getting ready for that here at the end of the month. A lot of good things to be talked about, a lot of things to go over and review, getting ready for the legislative season coming up in Juneau in a few months. Doesn't seem like it's that far away, but it's coming. So something that we need to talk about. If you fly in and out of the Anchorage Bowl, and in and out of the Part 93 airspace, pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure you know what your altitude is. Make sure you know what your altitude is supposed to be. And make sure you know what those Part 93 corridors are and what you're supposed to be doing. There have been several instances of people busting the altitude restrictions for that tunnel of airspace coming in and out of J-Bear. The militaries have what they call hatters, which are basically the acronym. The military loves acronyms. Excuse me, for a near miss, potential mid-air collision. They have a lot of paperwork to go through and do every time one of those things occur. Now, again, most of them seem to be for people that are not following the altitude restrictions coming in and out of Merrill and Lake Hood and crossing across that final approach course coming into J-Bear. Now, some of the others have happened when the C-130s and the C-17s have been coming into the drop zone, coming through the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, coming across the Big Lake VOR and dropping in that way. Pay attention. These guys are out there. They're coming in low leveled, doing parachute drops into the restricted areas over there in J-Bear. So military's asked us to kind of spread the word a little bit, help you remember what you're supposed to be doing. If you haven't reviewed that Part 93 airspace in a while and you fly in that part of the state, you need to review it. We shouldn't be having these near mid-airs. It messes with a lot of stuff down there. Speaking of airspace, it's that time of year. We've seen them pop up everywhere. Fire-related TFRs, and there's been some other TFRs over in the Gulkana area once again for the testing over at the HARP site, that big radio transmitter. They're doing a lot of experiments over there this month. So pay attention to TFRs. What's the best place and the best way to know about TFRs? Well, a lot of folks will look at SkyVector, or they'll look at 4Flight or some of the other, like Garmin and the other apps to do that. Some folks will actually go look at the tfr.fa.gov site, and that's a good place. Actually, the best way to do it is actually call and talk to flight service. Call them on the radio once you get airborne. Make sure there's not been any changes or updates. And besides, that way, it's recorded that you checked, and that'll help you if, in fact, something changes while you're in the air. So make sure you know and understand, actually that's the big part, understand what those boundaries are for those TFRs to make sure you don't we don't have an airspace incursion. So looking at my list again, some other things for us. Secretary of Transportation is visiting the state this week. A lot of meetings happening there. Aviation is not really the primary focus of his visit, and that's okay. A lot of other modes of transportation for Alaska, but we all think Alaska depends on aviation the most, which we do. The marine segment, railroad, highway, some of those things are also very important too. So Transportation Secretary, once again, in the state of Alaska, kind of on a summer break trip from Congress. They invite a lot of those folks up here to tour around. And so been out in Kotz, down in Juneau, and other parts of the state looking at infrastructure for transportation. So that's a big thing that's happening this week. Something else that actually happened today, and I'm waiting to hear some updates. Need to go back and look at some of the notes that have happened. But the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is holding hearings in Anchorage on cases that pertain to Alaska. And if you remember, the Flying Crown subdivision was in a dispute with the Alaska Railroad for right-of-way, which impacted their airstrip. Unfortunately, Flying Crown did not win their case with the Alaska Railroad, but thankfully we have a judicial system and a legal system that we do here in the United States. They were able to appeal that decision to the Ninth Circuit Court. The Ninth Circuit Court actually heard arguments today in Anchorage, at least they were scheduled to hear those arguments today for the appeal process, and so we'll be following that one closely like we have been for the past few years. The root of all that, the basis of all that is some of the airstrip is on land that the railroad claims as part of their right-of-way. Even though the railroad doesn't own it, the landowners do. The railroad thinks that they need to have legal access and restrict access from the actual landowners, which is Flying Crown, the subdivision there, for that private airstrip just in South Anchorage. So it has implications not just to aviation, but to other property owners and land right activists and folks there in the state and the nation. My understanding is that there's been an organization that's been taking up the case of Flying Crown pro bono, which that's good, and is pushing that through the Ninth Circuit Court right now. So just one other thing on my list, and again, we're kind of keeping it short tonight because as you can see, I'm not in Nenana tonight. It is August, and a lot of folks are flying this month that haven't flown in months. Haven't flown all summer, maybe didn't fly too much last winter. But it's August, and so folks are going out sheep hunting. Folks are getting ready to go caribou hunting. They're going duck hunting. They're going moose hunting coming up. You know, all these things that we do, that airplanes are an awesome and an excellent tool to use. But you haven't flown very much, and you're probably a little rusty. And it never fails. We always get accidents this time of year when folks, they try to push the laws of physics, they push the weather, and it doesn't end well. So this is my annual plea, my August plea to every one of you out there. When was the last time you did a legit, honest to goodness, for real weight and balance? Be honest. You don't have to tell me. Tell yourself. Maybe you should. Maybe you need to go back and review that. Maybe you need to figure out exactly what you really are supposed to be able to put in that airplane instead of what you know you've been doing. Practice some short field, soft field stuff with a buddy that's better than you. Go find a flight instructor friend and have them help you go through and get proficient on these skills. Now's the time to practice before you get out there in the field. You get pressured to push weather. You get pressured to just take one more hindquarter. We can get this in one more load. We don't have to do 2 loads. You know, the weather's not that bad. We can make it. It's been worse and we've done it before. We've all said those things. We've all done those things. It certainly doesn't make it right. And unfortunately, folks pay the ultimate price sometimes. So again, this is my annual August plea to please don't push the laws of physics, don't push the weather, and don't push your skill set. Be careful out there, folks. And we will come back around in September and give you another update on some of our legislative affairs activities here at the Alaska Airmen's Association. Appreciate you tuning in. And again, not in my normal surroundings, not at home right now, but didn't want to pass up the opportunity to give you a brief update on what's happening with the Alaska Airmen's Association. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time.